the palace are now under pressure to release a comment, basically, what the hell's going on? I'll tell you who we should get in to discuss this and everything else to do with the world is the one and only. It's our Monday, lad.
It's that time on a Monday morning.
It is. Ladies and gentlemen, we go live to Teesside in the Big Brother house. Good morning, Rod Liddle.
Good morning, how you doing?
Well, we were doing all right until
you.
she explained to me that some photos been potentially photoshopped and the world's gone nuts, Rob. What's going on?
This is unprecedented.
Well, I assume it's not unprecedented, otherwise they wouldn't have done it in such a slapdash and cack-handed manner. The fact that it was the royal family, of course, meant it was almost certainly going to be done in a cack-handed manner. I have to say, I can't tell from the photo, but that's because I'm visually challenged in these areas and of a generation which just looks at photographs and assumes that they're a duplication of reality. I'm very gullible on that particular issue. But I mean, I think there's a certain amount of hypocrisy about it in the media as well, about how we kind of deal with this thing. There is a balance to be struck between the dignity and the privacy which Kate is, as a royal, the dignity, and as an individual, the privacy, which she is due to get over this illness, rather than this kind of vulturish, cadaverous speculating on what could possibly be wrong with her and picking up on everything which suggests that it might be more serious than we're told.
But that's the problem, mate, isn't it? I'm with you, but the truth of the matter is either you keep stum or you put something out that's not genuine, because now what they've done is all those idiots online who are saying blah, 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 blah are now going, we told you so. That's the issue here, surely.
Yes, it is. And of course, you're right. But you could imagine the Royal Press Office over the last 2 weeks. Will we be seeing, with countless inquiries, will we be seeing Kate on Mother's Day? Will there be a picture of Kate on Mother's Day? When's Kate going to appear? You said 2 months. It's coming up to 2 months now. Is she going to be appearing then? Is it going to be... Yeah, and there's going to be all this pressure on people who are probably not terribly good at doing their job. Because the job of PR people and press officers is, if you'll forgive me, to lie to the public. I mean, that's their job. I used to have conversations with Alistair Campbell every week, and he lied to me every week without fail.
And you knew he was lying every week without fail.
And I knew he was lying. Yes, that's right. So that is the basic job of a press officer, which is to disguise the truth, if you can put it like that.
Rod, this is... you're going to have to take my word from it. I understand you might not be able to see.
He and I are old. We don't understand.
You're both a little bit older. But these Photoshop mistakes are so bad that they almost look intentional. I cannot believe that at any point somebody from...
That's a new strand, isn't it? That's a new conspiracy.
I know, perhaps I'm creating a conspiracy. But I cannot believe that anybody who has been hired or asked to doctor these images has left that image like that without thinking that this is what we're going to be talking about on the news. You can also look at Charlotte's skirt. There's like a hard edge on the skirt where clearly it has just been
Ian, I don't know what a hard edge on a skirt, but basically the point you're making is it's stirred up a pot.
I've looked at that picture of the clear gap on Charlotte's sleeve. I can't see a gap anywhere. It's just a perfectly normal sleeve.
I'll tell you what, let's go from mad to madness. Let's get Rod back on screen, because it came out over the weekend that Lady McAlpine, who is a very, very high-ranking donor and part of the Tory party, is so disheartened by Rishi Sunak. She's so disheartened by what's happened since Boris Johnson got an 80-seat majority in December 20, whenever it was, that she's going to make it her life's work to get rid of Rishi and install Boris via a safe parachuted seat, possibly in Henley-on-Thames, back to where he should be, leading the Tory party. This on the back of Boris Johnson heading off to Venezuela at the weekend to speak to a madman, apparently, about Putin, and apparently phoning Lord David Cameron on the way, which was never going to happen because they bleeding hate each other. Give me some balance here, Rod. Boris coming back, boy.
Well, I think the public ought to be given a chance to vote on something for a change. I mean, the Conservative Party have had so many leaders recently, and we haven't really been able to vote on any of them as to whether we want them as our Prime Minister or not. There seems to me to be very, very little appetite at all, if you look at the opinion polls, for a Boris Johnson premiership, or indeed for Boris Johnson coming back to the government in any form. I think he did have an 80-seat majority, and he won that election in 2019 with a certain degree of panache and, you have to say, Machiavellian duplicity over Brexit. But nonetheless, there is no appetite for him now. I think what Lady McAlpine, if she has a few spare moments to herself, ought to consider is that the public is pretty sick of the Conservative Party, full stop. And I've said this before, you know, we tend to have 10-year electoral cycles. That's what's come around now. It's time for the public to have their say on the Tories as well. I can't see anything which rescues the government. I think McAlpine, bless her, is probably right about Rishi being fairly useless, but at the same time, I don't see that there's very much that Rishi Sunak can do. I mean, he is hamstrung by his party largely, but also by some of the appointments he's made, such as Cameron and Hunt, both of which I think were very, very bad appointments.
I mean, I think that's the point, isn't it? He wanted the job, and I think we can talk about, we said it earlier, is he a victim of circumstance? I mean, I understand about the debt from the pandemic, but there's also...
He put himself in those circumstances.
Well, he's the one that did follow. It's just, for me, Rod, it's really simple, and people don't like me when I say this. He's been an MP for, what, 8 years? I don't think he's actually... I mean, he's OK. I don't think he's that good. And I'm not sticking up for Boris Johnson or even blimmin' Liz Truss in any which way. But I think he's... You know, he promised such change. And I think if you judge him on what he said he'd do, they're worse off than they were.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably right. I think it's also partly the problem of the Conservative Party's electoral process as well, which has a kind of infallible knack for choosing the worst person. You know, which I think it probably did with Liz Truss. And I think Rishi Sunak, you know, a terrible compromise for them. An amiable enough man, but one who is clearly kind of out of his depth when it comes to doing very much about the Labour lead in the opinion polls, which I think is now up to about 35.
Yeah, the Tories are going to end up with 20 seats at this rate. It's not going well.
Rod, just really quickly, we've just had news that the Reform Party will make a major announcement as the party bids to overtake the Tories in the polls. Richard Tice, the leader of Reform, is holding a press conference at 10:30 a.m.
They're only 5 points behind the Tory party.
Well, will it be Farage or Anderson that he announces at 10:30, do you think, Rod, or something else entirely?
Well, one assumes it's Anderson, and that, yes, they are only 5 points behind, but look what happens when it actually comes to an election, which is where their vote goes down like that. But we'll see.
Really interesting. Rod, it's my favourite part of Monday. I dread most of it, never when you come on, though. So thanks for your take. And by the way, can you just hold your head straight a minute? We're just going to Photoshop you there and make you look 25.
Can you Photoshop me to look like Daniel Day-Lewis, if possible?
Not a problem.
Thanks a lot, mate. Take care.